Hi, and welcome to Tune In with Talya. Good evening, everybody. I have a really wonderful guest on the show this evening. He's an old friend, and he's a very talented musician, and I'm very honored to have him here. Scott Stein, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me. Great to see you.
Great to see you. It's been a long time,
I know, I know.
and this is a great way to reconnect, huh?
Yeah, yes, it is.
For this Zoom show. So I want to tell everybody a little bit about you before we start. So Scott Stein is a Brooklyn-based pianist, songwriter, composer, and music director. He has sung his songs in legendary New York City clubs, conducted at Lincoln Center, music directed off-Broadway shows, backed up divas, American Idol celebs, and the occasional Elvis impersonator. Cool. He's open for a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer on more than one occasion. Okay, it was 2 times. And his most recent album, Traveling Companion, has earned him comparisons to Paul Simon, Ben Folds, and Elton John. And he is hoping to release more new music in the coming year. That's awesome. And by the way, I know you are because I see all your awesome posts all the time on Facebook of your new songs, and I'm just like, yeah, he's awesome, and he's coming on my show because we're going to talk about
Thank
that.
you. I'm so happy to be here. I saw that you were starting this series up, and I was like, I remember that you had put a posting up on Facebook like, "Who are my musician friends? Who wants to come on the show?" And I was like, "Ooh, me."
Yeah,
So
I
so
know. We made it happen.
I
I'm so
know.
glad you wanted to come on.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and so you've got a lot of great stuff to share. And well, first let's tell everybody how we know each other. So
Sure.
you want to tell you say.
Yeah. It was at a soiree. It was a kind of this fancy party hosted by a mutual friend of ours who's I think the story is his wife is a visual artist, and if I'm remembering that correctly. And one of my bandmates knew the host and said, "Hey, there's this thing happening in your neighborhood." Because I was an Upper West Sider,
Yeah.
as were you, I think, at the time, right?
Yep, I was.
And
Oh,
and she said, you should come along. It'll be fun. We'll get up. We'll sing some songs. It'll be a good time." So
yes.
we did that. Like we mingled. We met some really interesting people, and we played a couple of songs that we had written for our band, and you and I got to talking, and it was just like you were like, "Oh, well, I'm a cantor." I said, "Well, that's funny because I'm the son of a cantor," and we just started talking Jewish music. Yeah, I know it's the clergy connection.
Yeah.
And so after we were talking for a while, you said something about like maybe needing a piano player from time to time, and I was like, well, that's a lot of what I do because I grew up in the synagogue. I grew up with synagogue music, and so we got a chance to work together. Kind of on and off whenever I was available,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of developed a rapport from there.
Yeah, I remember. And we did some pretty fun bar mitzvahs together too,
We
right?
did,
You
we
remember
did.
that one?
That was, yeah, I think I know which one you're talking
Was
about.
it the stadium? You were with me in the stadium.
Okay, yeah, I was almost gonna put that in the bio.
Performed at Yankee
He
Stadium.
played Yankee Stadium. It was fun. It was actually my first time in the stadium. I had not been to a game at the new stadium yet.
Like it was just all of ours. Like it was just an
I
intimate.
know, it was awesome. We were on the field.
It was pretty cool in the dugout, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, I'm a big sports nut, so
So that must
there
have
was.
been pretty.
Oh yeah, there was it was a little bit of a thrill for
Yeah,
sure.
it was fun. Yeah, so we haven't really we haven't seen each other in a little while, right?
Yeah,
We've
it's been
been
been a,
doing
been
other
a bit.
things too. You've been doing so many other projects over the years. We
Yeah,
we lost touch a little bit, but we're reconnecting now, and hopefully we'll continue on with collaborating once
I hope
we
so.
get a little
Well,
bit, safer.
yeah. Oh geez, yeah. It's I am missing playing music with other folks. I think I can probably list on one hand or count on one hand the number of times I've made music with other musicians in the past year, like in the same space.
You
And
and everyone, yeah. I know
yeah,
it's sad. It's hard.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. Like I have this idea, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think there is such a hunger for live music and live entertainment. I think honestly, as long as we don't rush back to it too quickly, I think there's going to be just a pent up demand. I remember last summer in my neighborhood here in Brooklyn, um, there was a group of residents who put together a bunch of outdoor concerts. There are a bunch of houses around here. And so people were hosting bands on their lawn, and folks would come out, wearing masks and distancing, but outside. And it was great. It was such a wonderful community event. I got to play one myself, doing some of my own music, and I got to bring some of my bandmates in. And it was just the spirit around it. You could just tell people were just like,
crazy.
they knew they were missing it. So I hope that once we are all vaccinated and we can turn the corner on this thing, I think there's going to be a real demand for live music. I really do.
A renaissance of
I think so. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't use such fancy words as that, but that's I really
They say
do.
that. Someone's like, we're going to enter into a new renaissance of music after this, or of art, an explosion.
Yeah. I think so. When people talk about like the creativity of like the jazz age, 1920s, as like was pre depression, but post the Spanish flu epidemic was the last time we were, or pandemic. So, I think so. I think there's a lot of pent up energy right now.
Yeah, I can't wait for explosion of art. Yeah.
I hope that's what
I hope that's the case. I hope so. So you mentioned that you're the son of a cantor. That's pretty.
I am.
What was it like growing up as a son of a cantor?
It was nice. So I grew up in Akron, Ohio. My dad was the cantor of the conservative synagogue in town. We had three synagogues, one of each, basically, a Reform, a conservative, and and an Orthodox. And he was at that synagogue for actually it was 35 years when he retired from the pulpit. And I'm lucky because he was there for my entire childhood, so we were able to stay in one place, and just being part of a small Jewish community was actually really, really nice. Everybody kind of knows everybody else, and certainly everybody knows the cantor's kids,
Right.
So it was a bit of a fishbowl existence, but you just kind of get used to it. But in terms of the music, my whole family is musical, I remember, I remember, growing up with my mom sang in the choir, my dad would be up there on the pulpit. And eventually when my sister and I got older, we joined the choir. And then actually, I think it was my senior year of college, the choir conductor moved. And so I came in and conducted. So it was my sister and my mom singing, me conducting, and my dad on the pulpit. So it was very much a family affair. So just all of I think so many of the early childhood memories I have are associated with music in one way or another.
Yeah, you were just brought up in it. That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it was never really a question what you would do with your life. You just knew you were going to be doing music.
That's a funny story. I'll try to condense it.
Okay.
I went to school to be an engineer.
Ah.
I didn't. You could. Well, spoiler alert. I didn't become an engineer. No. When I was graduating high school, I think the thought was, because I was good in math, I was good in science, and the thought was I'll do engineering because that's math and science, and maybe I'll do music on the side. And then I actually had a college advisor. I said, well, why are you not studying music? Because that was all my extracurricular stuff. So I double majored in music composition and mechanical engineering, and I did it for 3 years, and I wasn't anywhere close to graduating because it was just so much work.
Yeah.
And I finally decided, life is too short. I'm going to do the thing that I love. Wow. And thankfully, I was really concerned that, my parents would be, not happy about it. And you know what? To their credit, they were really supportive. They saw it coming. I think they knew I was not real thrilled as an engineer. It just was not for me. And so I finished my music career. Excuse me, I finished my music degree.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I didn't really know. I knew I wanted to be a songwriter. I knew I wanted to be in bands and tour. I wanted to do all that stuff. But you don't necessarily need a degree to do that.
Right.
It's less of a, there's less of a straight line. I mean, I think what I learned in all of my music studies certainly plays a role in what I write. But anyway, so it was not obvious, but eventually it became obvious to me that this was the thing that I needed to, at least I had to give myself an opportunity to try. I knew I wanted to come to New York. I was going to give myself a couple of years and then let me see what happens. And I've been here now for almost 14 years, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty safely on this path. Yeah.
You are totally.
Yeah.
Great. I want to hear more about the album that you released called Traveling Companion.
Yeah.
A little bit
So
about
that,
the record and maybe share something from it.
sure. I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll be happy to share a recording from there. The record came out in 2016,
Yeah.
and it's also why I'm sort of jonesing at the opportunity to do something new. But yeah, it came at a pretty happy time in my life. My wife Sarah and I had been married for 3 years. We were getting ready to move to Brooklyn from the city, so we were purchasing a home, which is really it's a thrill. Just a lot of stuff felt like it was starting to to fall into place, and it's kind of a funny thing as a writer. You don't have to be miserable to write good music, but it helps. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes the hardest thing is writing or making an interesting statement about being happy. And so I mean, I think there's a range of emotions on the record, but I think throughout it felt like there was I had a lighter heart writing and recording it. There was a lot, and there was a real joy to doing it. So I did it, I recorded it at a couple different studios. I did all the band stuff at a studio in Gowanus in Brooklyn, and then finished all the rest of it at the home studio of my guitar player and producer, Jeff Littman, including the horns and the strings and extra guitars and vocals. My wife Sarah sang on some of the backing vocals. In fact, you're going to hear her on this clip here.
Okay.
And it just was, I just had a lot of fun doing it, and yeah. So I thought I would share a clip from the CD release show. This is back into groups and unmasked. That's why, and it was recorded at my favorite venue, Rockwood Music Hall, right here in New York City. And all right, well, let me pull up the clip 1 second. Sorry, you don't need to look at my inbox here.
It's okay.
That's
Rockwood
what you would have
is a
gotten
fun venue.
otherwise. Okay, I think I've got it here. And the song is called Wine Soaked Heart.
Nice. It's a cool name.
Thank you. All right, here we go.
Hotel bed, the sound of my lover did not keep me awake. So the rumblings bouncing around inside my head. Ah, yeah. Lord, would you give me your wine so hard? The rebel singing the grid. Gonna tune out everybody but the one I love. Let the world revolve around us like a couple of barefoot kids. Ah, yeah. Lord, won't you give me your wine so tart? Let me ramble the land of the authors and the poets of the city. Lord, won't you give me your wine so tart? Let me pull it all together. Let me pull my fears apart. Pull my fears apart. Call it predictable, I don't care. Cue the B-roll footage, cue the montage, cue the movie strip. You only get so many years to be so self-aware before the exterior starts to fade and all that's left all the important things. 'Cause you won't live forever with a wild, wild heart. Thank you. It's Mr. Jeff Young on the violin.
Yay! That was great.
Thank you.
Great song. And I didn't know that you played the accordion. Like
I didn't either.
that's
I
how
forgot.
did you learn? Did you teach yourself?
Yeah, no, it was sort of by accident. For a number of years, I played in a band called Food Will Win the War, and we had a bit of a rotating cast of folks who sang harmonies, and one of the people who came in also played keyboards. And so, since she had her keyboard parts down, and she'd been in the band before I was, in our practice space, we had an accordion lying around. It wasn't mine; it belonged to one of the other band members. And our singer was like, "Well, here, do you think you could learn?" I was like, "All right, I'll try." So it was really basic level accordion because, like you have the keyboard on the right, which is all the melody stuff, and then you have on the left hand all the buttons. So this is more accompaniment. So it's chords and bass notes. When you're in a band, you don't need to play. You don't need to use those quite as much, especially if you got a bass player and a guitar player, which is what it was in this clip too.
What a great combination of sounds. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah, so I learned the right hand, and then my wife bought me for I think it was my 30th birthday gift. She bought me an accordion, and much to the chagrin of my neighbors, I started practicing all the left hand stuff and tried to learn that. So
Those New York neighbors were not happy.
most of them were fine, but one neighbor was not real happy about it.
Always had that one neighbor who was like,
yeah.
I remember that from those days where I would be singing scales high up.
Yeah, we had our old neighbor in the first place that my wife and I had together on the Upper West Side. We are across the hall neighbor is a French horn player, and he actually happens to be the president of the Musicians Union now in New York. So,
Wow.
But the funny part is that, like, so I would hear him practice all the time, and it was, and I really loved it. It felt like I was back in music school. His now wife, when she first came around, when they first started dating, has is a Broadway star of. She's had a couple of big leads. Yeah. So like all of a sudden, like instead of hearing French horn, I heard this like just fabulous Broadway belter. I'm going like, who is that?
That's great.
And then I was like, oh, well, that's my girlfriend. So and now his wife. So there you go.
And how lucky are you to perform with your wife? That's pretty cool.
It's really fun. It's really nice to have that in common.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your writing process like? So how do you start writing with a melody in your head or words first?
It always starts with a kernel of something. Yeah. I think I think in the best scenario, I have a little bit of both already in my head. Like I'll have a hook.
Yeah.
Or an opening line, and there's at least a bit of a melody or a rhythm to it, so I've got some structure there. And that I couldn't tell you where that comes from. It just is like it pops into your head, and you go, "Hey, that's pretty good. I should write that down."
It just comes from
that last song. I've almost never had this happen, but we were in Spain. It was like. As you do. No, we were. This was actually we did a 1-year anniversary. We didn't go on our honeymoon right away, so we went a year later. Uh-huh. So it was the first night, and I was really jet lagged and I couldn't sleep. And this chorus kind of popped into my head, and like part of it was like, okay, brain, could you not right now? I would really like to sleep. And then the other part of me was like, well, dummy, this is pretty good. You should probably write this down. And like it ended up being like the chorus, which starts the song, and I think at least the first verse. Wow. It was like a good chunk of it in the middle of the night because I was awake.
Yeah.
I was just trying not to wake
Sometimes
my wife.
That's the best time.
It doesn't happen often to me. Usually in the middle of the night, I'm reminded of there's a really great story from Tom Waits where he said, somebody asked him about his process, and he said, one day I was recording. Sorry, I'm doing the voice really badly, but he said I was in the studio, and I'd finished a long day, and I'm driving home on the Pacific Coast Highway, and there's a beautiful sunset, and a melody just pops into my head. The muse has visited me while I'm on the highway, and I said to my muse, "Can't you see I'm busy here? Come, I'm in the studio for 10 hours. You are welcome to visit me then. Go bother Leonard Cohen." Obviously, this is when Leonard Cohen was still kicking. But yeah, and I always loved that story. That sort of talking to your muse and being like, I'm busy right now. Like, but sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes an idea comes in and you just have to like find a way to, jot it down or, hit your phone and record it or something.
Yeah. It's great. So a lot of that's happening these days for you, right? You're starting to write a lot more now.
I am. I started when the pandemic hit, I wasn't doing a lot of writing. I felt it just because so many things were changing and so many things were kind of up in the air and just so uncertain. I was not able to do a lot of writing right away. But what happened when I felt like I was ready to and was looking for ideas, and this is something I often do, as I looked through my notebook for ideas, I looked for maybe like, here's this song that like was half finished. Right. Why don't I start there? Because sometimes it's like a muscle. If you haven't exercised it for a while, sometimes it's hard to get it, working the way it should. And so that kind of gave me kind of an on-ramp to go, okay, I've got some of the work already done here. Let me dig and see if I can pick up where I left off. So that's kind of what I was doing a lot of. Yeah.
Did you find that it was just healing and therapeutic to go there? Did it help you with the nerves and the unsettled feeling of what's going on in the world?
Yeah, actually, I do. I find that with playing piano, I had not realized that for a few months I hadn't even touched the piano. Now, I'm teaching from home. I'm doing other work. I use a keyboard for that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I had not touched the actual piano or I barely touched it in a few months. And when I decided, all right, well, I need to get back and play. First of all, I want to get my technique back, but also that when I sat down, I felt much more centered. I felt like this is a part of who I am that I'm getting back. And writing, it kind of came the same way. You know, it felt like reconnecting with an old friend a little bit. So yeah, absolutely, it definitely helped. You know, it also just, I've found this way through my life. You know, when I'm able to take the things I'm feeling and channel them into something something positive, then it is helpful. It is definitely helpful. Yeah, I think that's it.
Maybe you can share something that you're currently working on, or that you've just finished, or something that
Sure, I could do that.
We do
Yeah, I'll play something. So this song, can you hear this okay?
Yeah, I've been seeing these posts from home, and they're sounding good.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do one of those to start. The song was not conceived of during pandemic, but it was finished during. It was one of those where, like, I had it half written. I think when the events that inspired it were happening, I wasn't really in a position to write. Sometimes you get an idea, but it's like, I need to handle what's in front of me right now, and I'll write about it later, you know. But a lot of these songs, although they may have been written about something that happened pre-pandemic, I think they've gained a different kind of poignancy, a different kind of urgency for me. So this song, which I posted a version of on Facebook, and that was my way of, like, sort of forcing myself to say, like, I've got these songs, we're not ready to hit in the studio yet, because it's just, like, I don't know that it's quite safe to do it yet, but, like, I have a backlog of material. I want people to hear it. So the song is called Uphill, and it's, I don't know, might be a title of the record. I haven't gotten that far yet, but it's an idea. Oh. It's about, you know, trying to get past something, a mental block or an emotional block, and trying to find a way to do it, and, you know, and not always being successful, but you keep working at it. And it does sort of feel like that's where we're at right now. You know, like, we're not past this thing. And so we just kind of have to dig a little deeper to just, like, get through what we hope will be the last few months, or whatever, however long it has to be, you know. So anyway, so so that's a little about the tune.
Okay.
So here we go. Lying here half awake, though I got nothing in the tank. It's only the caffeine in my system I have to thank. Another night, another week, another month, and then I will go uphill again. And roll like a wave, bouncing up over the shore. Slipped like a letter someone left under a door. I know better days are coming, but I couldn't tell you when. But I will go uphill again. I will go uphill again. This year is living in my bones, it's carved into my face. It buries itself in my room and takes up all the space. Fighting off the demons like a boxer in the ring. I hear angels in my corner, but I cannot see a thing. I'll take it one day at a time, I'll take it on the chin. But I will go uphill again. And I'm trying to catch a train that's always half a step ahead. I'm sweating and I'm straining, and then I'm falling back into bed. Then I wake up from the dream, take a breath and count to 10. I will go uphill again. I will go uphill again. Well, I hear forgiveness in your voice as it rings in my ear. Silent like music that only you and I can hear. I'm open to the grief, I am open to the sorrow. I'm open to the chance that I may stumble down tomorrow. And even if nobody knows when this rain will end, I will go uphill again. I'll be ready for the downpour, let it overflow my cup. I'll be ready for that sunshine for whenever it shows up. I know better days are coming, though I don't know when. But I will go uphill again. I will go uphill again. I will go uphill again.
Yeah. Great song.
Thank
Very
you.
catchy. Like
Thank
has
you.
a good what's that word? Has like
Well, it's got a hook to it,
Hook,
for
yeah.
sure. Oh.
Yeah, so it's so relevant.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think it was, I think that's kind of why I felt like I wanted to put it out there. Because it's, yeah, I mean, these are strange times. These are hard times. And so going happy, let me start that train of thought again. You know, I think there's a place for music that is uplifting. I think there's a place for, you know, happy-go-lucky, because we haven't had a lot of that. And I think there's a place for, you know, something that's maybe reflective of where I think a lot of us are at. And so I hope it can be the latter.
Totally. I feel like there's gonna be so much music coming out of this year. Just helping people
Yeah.
get through the year. You're gonna see-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, you know, it's people have released music. They've found a way, either, you know, I know band members who have just like podded together so that way they
Right.
can get into studio and work.
Right.
I know bands who have formed, you know, by recording remotely, like people who knew each other and were like, you know what, we've always talked about working together, but then they'll record all the parts separately, you know, if they all have good home recording setups.
A lot more home recording setups have been made. Right?
Yeah, I've upgraded mine too. I bought a couple, you know, new mics, and I'm not any kind of expert engineer, but you know, I've learned a few tricks and invested in some better gear. So
Good. Sounds good. Yeah.
thank you. Glad to
So-
hear that.
Yeah. So I was curious, who are your major musical influences growing up, and who inspires you now?
Oh boy. So there's like a long list, and that I think for most writers there's a long list and a
course.
short list. I'll try to give you the short
I
one.
know it's hard for like to pick and choose.
Yeah, you know, I think in terms of songwriting, I mean, I think it's still the same as it was, you know, maybe by the time I was in college. Like you do discover new artists, or you add to your record collection.
Yeah.
I think big ones growing up were, well, Ben Folds got big when I was in high school, and it was like, oh, that's a piano player. Like, I want to do that. That's really cool. You know, like Billy Joel had sort of stopped making hits at that point. He wasn't making records, but Ben Folds was new, and
Right.
so he was a big one. One of my favorite bands has always been The Police. I've always been drawn to like Sting's writing,
Yeah.
and I think there's just like a real sophistication to what he does, and sometimes I like to analyze some of the music that he's written. Like, how did he get from that key? That chorus is in a totally different key. How did he get there? You know, so that kind of stuff. I mean, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, and then some of the other ones who I think are maybe are not. They're known to a certain subset of musicians, but like Paul Westerberg from The Replacements is one of my all-time favorites. Alex Chilton is best known for his work in Big Star and the Box Tops, and so those are big ones that it's like those two in particular, Chilton and Westerberg. It's like if you know the music. For those who know it, it's either I've never heard of them or I know them and I'm obsessed with them. Like there's very little middle ground with those guys, but I'm in the latter category there. And I mean but I also grew up as a jazz pianist, so like that was my background. So it was like growing up, it was like Bill Evans, Thelonious Monk, Wynton Kelly, Herbie Hancock, the late great Chick Corea. But I'm always kind of finding new stuff and adding to the collection, or finding some classic record that, I somehow, it's like, how did I never listen to this growing up? And you go back and rediscover. And
yeah, cool.
Yeah, Paul Simon's the other big one for him.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I hear a little bit of him in what you do. Just like I could tell that you like him,
Thank you. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to catch him on the last tour that he did, because he's basically retired, and it just was like you have to sit back and just watch the master at work. Yes. Just great stuff. So
totally. So I read in your bio that you're a faculty now at 2 major cantorial schools.
I am.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I enjoy it. I've been at the Jewish Theological Seminary since 2016, teaching piano and musicianship, and then I also took an adjunct position with Hebrew Union College about 2 years ago. Maybe a year and a half ago. This is my second year teaching, and also teaching music theory and musicianship, piano. I'm teaching a little bit of conducting too. So, yeah, it's fun. They keep me busy, and it's a good challenge.
You've been working as a musician during this whole entire pandemic. You're not performing, but thank goodness you have these teaching.
I have been very lucky.
Yes.
Like everybody.
During this time.
Sorry, is it?
I said you're one of them very fortunate musician performing artists.
Yeah. No, it's not lost on me that I really am lucky. The teaching has managed to migrate online with, I would say not too major of a hiccup. I mean, obviously teaching online is no substitute, I think, for teaching in person, especially when you're dealing with music. Yeah. But we've been able to do it. So thankfully that's kept me busy. I also have 2 community choruses that community chorus and a youth chorus that I conduct, and they both opted for a sort of online programming, online rehearsals this year. And so I've been doing those as well. So, obviously I don't have as many gigs and things like that, but it's good to be busy. It's on a lot of levels. So I'm thankful for that.
Very cool. So you're able to work with choirs virtually.
Yeah, it's not perfect. As I think right? You can't sing together.
Right. I'm like, how does that work?
Everybody's on mute.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I'll be like, okay, basses sing along with me, and then okay, basses and tenors sing, but I'm gonna play both parts, but I'm gonna sing tenor, and then when it's ready for everybody together, I have a recording.
Right. Okay.
It's imperfect, but what you also can do is, you can do music theory stuff, or you could be like, here, let's check out this recording of a professional chorus doing this piece. Let's check out how this conductor does it, Yeah. So there are other ways to take advantage of the medium. And it's, nothing takes the place of being together in person, but, you keep everybody together. You keep that cohesive group, that community together, which is something that really drives choirs, I think, especially, or any ensemble. And so you make the best of it.
Yeah, we can do what we have to do right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. And I wanted to also ask you, because I read about this as well. You've been conducting the Hazamir Choir, right? And you conducted over 400 singers at the David Geffen Hall in New York City.
I did.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, yes.
How cool was that? And tell us about that experience.
Oh my gosh.
That must have been an incredible.
So so Hazamir is a network of choirs for Jewish teenagers across the U.S. and Israel. We have, I think, 10 chapters in Israel, which is really, really awesome. So I conduct the Manhattan chapter, and I've been with them for, I think, 11 years now. It's just hard to believe that it's been that long. But I know. So all of the chapters learn the same music, and then we'll combine for regional concerts, and we do one big international concert this is turning into a commercial for Hazamir. That's okay. That's okay by me. Hopefully there's some people out there who are like, I want to do that. Yeah. So this is high school students, and so we bring them together for this 3 days of intensive rehearsal. Plus they all get to meet each other, and it's just an awesome, really, it's just all these musical kids. And then we have a big concert, and usually it's at David Geffen Hall at Lincoln Center. So the last time we were able to do this concert, we had almost 400 singers, and I've had an opportunity to conduct one of the pieces on some of these programs. The last time was a world premiere. So it was a brand new piece with the composer at the piano. Fortunately, it's Gerald Cohen, who is a very, very nice guy and very easy to work with. But that's a thrill. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do if the music calls for it is any kind of a subito piano. So when they're singing really, really loud and then get really soft, suddenly, boy, is that the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you get 400 people to do that together. Awesome. So it's fun. It's got its challenges too with a group that big. Trying to shift the tempo. Yeah. It's trying to get them to go faster is like pushing the boulder up the hill, and trying to get them to slow down is like what happens when the boulder goes over the other side of the hill. And it's like no, come back. So, but it's a thrill, and it's real fun. So that's a project I can't wait to get back to in person. I'm sure.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully in the fall. That's our hope.
Yes. So we have to wrap it up soon, but I just wanted to ask you one more question. Out of all of your gigs that you've done in your career so far, which has been your favorite one, or one of your most favorite performances, and why?
I've got an answer for that right away.
Oh wow, that was easy.
Yeah. So my old band, the Ramblers, I mentioned when you and I met to bring this
you were in a
full
band.
Circle. Yeah. So this was awesome. It was the singer from the Ramblers and I who showed up to that party where we met. We had an opportunity to open for a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, as you mentioned, and that was Levon Helm, who is the drummer and one of the singers for the band. I should have mentioned that as them as an influence too. The band they're just great songwriters and great influence to me. So we got to go up to Levon's his barn was converted into a recording studio and live music venue up in Woodstock where he lived up until his passing a few years ago. And so we got to open for him in his home at this very intimate venue, and we got to do it twice actually, but the first time up there just to be on that stage and play their instruments, Levon and his band is just these are some of the best musicians you'll ever see, were in his band. And there's such a reverence among all those players for this guy and his legacy and his music. And for a while I even got to sit behind the drum throne and watch him play. Nice. And he was not a young guy at that point. He was not in great health, but he hit as hard as any drummer I've ever heard. But just such a soulful guy, and he even he came to hang with us a little bit after. He was not in good health at the time, and we were told give him space, don't don't try to crowd him. So we did, and he came over and was like, you guys sound real good, and chatted up for a little bit, and just to be in the presence of somebody who made music with such joy and such conviction. I'll never forget it. Just to be able to hang with that guy. So that's my favorite one. I think that would have been 2008 or 9.
Wow, right around the time I met you, you were
yeah, it's probably around that time. Yeah, because the Ramblers were hitting pretty hard at that point.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that.
Yeah, so that's still, I think that's
nice
my favorite
memory.
gig. Yeah, Lincoln Center was good, but hanging with Levon Helm was like,
wow, oh, so great. So can we end with one more song? And
yes, let's do it. I'll play a new one. This is song is called "It's a Good Life," and I thought about it, or I thought of the idea when my son Eli was born. He's now 2.5, and he's singing songs of his own, as it were.
That's adorable.
Always making up songs, or
Yeah.
or adding words to other songs now. So instead of the wheels on the bus, now it's the lion on the bus goes roar.
Aw.
Yeah, he's so. I had this chorus running through my head, I think, before he was born, and when he was born, I was like, I should work on that song, and it took on just a very different meaning, and it was really about like almost like trying to prepare him, like life's gonna have some ups and downs, but don't lose your joy. And it's good. I would do well to take that advice too. So
It's like
when things get tough,
you and to pass it on.
I try. So that's the song, and hopefully I'll get a chance to record it soon.
Great.
So
All right.
here we go. Got some inside information. Someone slipped me a copy of the master plan. My sources were reliable, but they're in a language I don't understand. I've always been a cynic since the day that I can remember. Always skipping past silver linings, always looking for the snow in September. But baby, 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 it's a good life. Oh, baby, baby, it's a good life. No matter who you are, we all can see the nearest star. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a good life. Some days you're awful busy, some days you can't get a damn thing done. Some days you get the car keys, and some days it's the keys to the kingdom. Sometimes the changing of the guard is faster than the changing of the seasons. Sometimes the people that you love fly away for very good reasons. But baby, 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 it's a good life. Oh, baby, baby, it's a good life. No matter how you sing the song, there's always someone singing along. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a good life. Ooh, baby, you do what you do. Well, I once was a beginner who will only knew what he knew. But baby, 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 it's a good life. Oh, baby, baby, it's a good life. Don't just stick to what you know. Let it fly and watch it go. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a good life. Oh, baby, baby, it's a good life. Oh, baby, baby, it's a good life. Ooh, ooh,
Woo. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great song. I dig your songs. They're great.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're great. Great messages too. That's a good message.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
today,
Thank,
this evening, and
thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. It's a real treat to be on Tune In with Talya. I was really looking forward to this. So
thank you, and it's great to reconnect after so long.
I know.
And share
Absolutely.
you and your music with everyone. So
So
have a wonderful rest of your evening. And
thank you. You too.
We'll be in touch, and stay well, stay healthy and safe, and
And you
we'll
too.
get through this. We will.
Yes, we will.
Get there.
One way or another.
We will. So thanks so much.
All
Have
right,
a great
take
night,
it.
everybody. Thanks for tuning in with Talya, with me, and I will see you all next Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. for another episode of my show. Have a great night.